culture was a very important thing at IronPort. I founded the company with my co-founder, Scott Bannister. There were two of us, and we grew the company to about 500 people before eventually selling to Cisco. There are all types of things that are really important about culture, but there is one really important cultural underpinning when I boiled it down, and I'm going to get into it in a minute. And harnessing this cultural underpinning, promoting it, developing it, was a primary job of the CEO, my job. And I think there's about 20 rules of thumb that I put together in this presentation that are specific to CEOs, and I know there are a number of CEOs in the room. I think the CEO, most of the building of the culture has to be supported and developed by the CEO. And I'm going to go into some details why. Jack Welch. I love this picture of him, too. Jack, I'm a little bit of a geek. I've read all of Jack Welch's books, and, I've studied GE quite a bit. Amazing culture. It was interesting. They got together, and this is in one of Jack Welch's books. They all got together, and they're like, okay, what is our core competency? Is it technical prowess? Is it this? Is it that? And they all looked around the table, I would say somewhat immodestly, and say, you know what our core competency is? We're the best damn leaders in the world. We do everything right. We make damn good decisions. And so what they embarked on is they said, well, if we're doing that, why are we running all these shitty little industrial businesses? Bill, Jim, go figure out what are the most profitable businesses in the world. We should be running those, right? We're the best leaders in the world. And they, in fact, did this. They went out and sold off all their industrial business, and they went into finance and media, which were the most profitable businesses. And that's why they went into them, because they're the most profitable businesses, and they thought they were the best leaders. Now, they're good leaders, really good leaders. And here's one of the secrets. This is a kind of a long quote from Jack Welch, but it's one of my favorites, and it illustrates why they're such good leaders. I should really kind of say this quote in a Boston accent, but I'll say it regular. Every time we had a crisis at GE, I would assemble a group of the smartest, gutsiest people I could find at any level, from within the company and sometimes from without, and lean on them heavily for their knowledge and advice. I would make sure everyone in the room came at the problem from a different angle, and then I would have us all wallow in the information as we worked to solve the crisis. These sessions were almost always contentious, and the opinions that came at me strong and varied. And yet, my best decisions arose from what I learned in these debates. Disagreements surfaced meaningful questions and forced us to challenge assumptions. Everyone came out of the experience more informed and better prepared to take on the next crisis. This is important here. A good leader has the courage to put together a team of people who sometimes make him look like the dumbest person in the room. I know that sounds counterintuitive. You want your leader to be the smartest person in the room, but if he acts as if he is, he won't get half the pushback he must get to make the best decisions. As I said before, I would have another kind of way of communicating is having frequent all hands. Most of my all hands were going over the board slides. And my investors were often very uncomfortable with what I shared with the employees. I would say, hey, we were looking at the encryption space. I think it's going to be too difficult to build, so we're going to buy. And there's these 5 companies. We're going to buy one of them. Investors are like, come on, what? How are you telling this to all the employees? I always said, putting everybody's head under the tent, having no secrets at the company, the possibility of an employee leaking that data and, somehow is so outweighed by having their brains on the table and having them thinking about it and having them feel loyalty and trust because I'm bringing them under the tent. I always dismissed concerns about secrecy of things. I'd much rather talk to the employees and make sure everybody's brains were on the table. My acid test for if you have this kind of a company or this kind of a culture is an employee willing to come up with an idea that will potentially put them out of a job? At Toyota and at Southwest, absolutely they will. One fewer flight attendant, one fewer person on the production line. This is an asset. Not many companies have employees that would do that, that will put a plan to have less product managers or have less engineers working on this problem for the sake of the company. That's a hard acid test. These companies, absolutely they do. And, now there's a lot of great things about that is they have a people ecosystem that supports that. They also are growing. They also do career tracking across the organization. They also primarily promote from within. So if you're coming up with these ideas, you're being promoted within the company. This value, the thing that I said is most important, dominates all values, is the value of speaking up, of feeling comfortable to contribute outside of your area, to not have an organizational hierarchy or organizational boundaries. People feel free to speaking out of turn to contribute anywhere in the organization. They're informed about what's going on in the company, and everybody knows where they're going and what oar to paddle. So go from 2 people in a cockpit to, just think of Jack in a crisis situation with 15 people in the room, everybody's brains on the table, everybody contributing their ideas to the process. I believe a startup company in Silicon Valley is always in crisis mode. And the small decisions that you make either make or break this company. Having your employees, having everybody with their brains on the table, thinking about all of your problems all the time is how you succeed. Thank you.